I'm doing well. How are you, sir? Oh, yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say go Lions. Yeah, so this is something that we've been in discussion for probably 18 months, but really started strategic planning for it in about the last 10. It was known as a 708 mental health referendum. What that was asking voters of Piatt County, would they consider partnering with local providers of substance use, mental health and developmental services, where they would allow a tax levy on assessed property value to not exceed 0.15%, and that those funds would go to supporting underfunded or unfunded programs in those three areas of service. Well, again, big smile on our end is in this dire economic climate, I was absolutely shocked, but pleasantly surprised. The voters of Piatt County passed us through on a 60-40 vote. And honestly, Seth, the best part about the vote for me was we have 16 different voting precincts in Piatt County, and all of them but one affirmed that decision. So it wasn't like a large demographic area like a Monticello pushed it through where the rest of the county wasn't in favor. Every single voting precinct, with the exception of one, affirmed this decision. So to me, I interpret that as the county as a whole saying we value these services and we want to make sure that they are sustainable. So big win for Piatt County as a whole. Yeah, so obviously, Piatt County is mostly rural, so it's difficult to get a nice communication plan out. We did what we could through social media. Want to say a big thank you to WAND and WCIA for covering and articulating a good message for 708. But I was present personally at every village and city meeting and most of the township meetings over the last 3 months of just kind of pressing the pavement, talking to people. And honestly, Seth, I think that our message of what we were trying to accomplish was done years ago because I had a good friend of mine here in Piatt County when I first started that said, Tony, do not ever forget that Piatt County is more than Monticello. And to me, that was great counsel. And we've done very hard of working with every single school district in Piatt County, with almost every first responder group in Piatt County. So when I went to these villages, it wasn't like, look at all the stuff we're doing in Monticello. I could say 3, 4, 6 months ago, I was right here and we did naloxone training, therapy in the schools, wellness programs, Teachers Institute trainings, grief support groups. And that was, like I said, not just in the Monticello area. It was making sure that we service and support and resource every single area of Piatt County. I certainly hope so. I mean, for me, is I love this county. It's a very generous community. It's a very community-oriented place where we take care of our own. And while it's rural, it has its own demographic to it, its own feel. And so, yeah, I think that I don't want to be political and say, pass this and here's the new shiny ball, and then fail to deliver on that. What I want to say is you have sampled what we can do. Now just imagine what we could do if we were fully funded. And so I I do not take the public's trust for granted, and I feel like I've got to earn it every single day. And as I told my board and my staff, the voters of Piatt County have given us something very valuable. It's their trust to take their resources, because they're not mine, take their resources and care for this community in a positive way. Yeah, so again, the money is accrued through a property tax levy. And even though it was just voted on and approved, providers will not even have access to that cash for a full another year. So, that's kind of what I was telling some people. It's like, you've got this great present that's sitting on the shelf that says do not open until 2026. But then a good friend of mine said, but it's on the shelf, which is nice. So what ends up happening? That levy is collected by the county. It doesn't come here. It's collected by the county. The county then has to develop a separate mental health, a 708 mental health board, which is made up of community leaders, and they have to create a lot of documentation and a budget, and then providers can then apply for this funding, and they can choose how to allocate it. Now, here's some of the things that I have mentioned publicly is that in order for us to be sustainable, we've done a quick cost analysis of what the levy can bring in. In order for us to be sustainable, we would really need to function at around 0.9 to 0.1% of that entire levy coming back to the mental health center to keep our programs going as they are. The county can go all the way up to 0.15. And if that was the case, you could find other providers and keep us sustainable. I will tell you, Champaign County only has a 0.12%. So I guess that's the decision that this 708 board is going to have to make is, do we want to tax at the highest possible rate and then be able to take care of the center and other providers? Do we want this to go to the center since we are the primary provider of developmental services? We're one of the providers of behavioral health and the primary in substance use. I do know other counties that are like, we prefer to fund one vendor because we don't want all of that money getting lost in admin and support costs. So kind of the biggest bang for one provider. So totally out of my hands. It's at the county board's discretion. And my job is just to serve as an advisor of saying, okay, now you guys have passed it. Here's what you legally have to do. And then I have to take my hands off because I'm wanting to apply for those funds. So my understanding would be, because I've been a very grateful benefactor of the DeWitt County Mental Health Board, and they do amazing work, is that the Mental Health Board, they put out a statement saying that they are accepting applications for a 30-day window. All the providers put in their asks. The Mental Health Board meets, chooses the merits and who they're going to allocate those funds to, and then presents that budget back to the county board for approval. as long as those services are providing care for somebody in Piatt County. Yeah. Yeah, and again, just because I want to make sure that Sharon Mills hears me say this is the only reason why we are receiving funding from the DeWitt Mental Health Board is because we are providing services in DeWitt County. If we have like services like Ross or prevention, it stops at the county line. And that makes sense to me is the residents of DeWitt County are voting to take care of the residents of DeWitt County. Those funds should stay within that community. And so we have to be, even with some of our school districts that we serve that are split across two counties, we have to be very, very specific of how many of those students are DeWitt County residents. And again, I love transparency and accountability. It makes things very, very easy. And so I think what Sharon and her team over at the DeWitt Mental Health Board, they're doing fantastic work with the resources that they have. Yeah, so I would say thank you to the residents of Piatt County for trusting us to take care of the community in a way that we feel is not only efficient, but fiscally responsible. The first thing that I would do is if we were awarded funding is to provide a reasonable and competitive wage for our current workforce, because that's the biggest threat is we got a staff turnover. And so those investments into what we're already doing will strengthen our relationships, provide better service, and we will have a better product. So thank you for your trust. Thank you for your support, and look out. We're gonna do some great things together. Yeah, so it couldn't be a state program without having a wonderful, catchy acronym, right? I mean, that's how we roll. So let me get through all of them so it's a nice word salad. So the Department of Human Services funds programs through the Division of Substance Use and Prevention Recovery to provide what is known as a recovery-oriented system of care. So for you keeping your score on your bingo card, DHS is super program provides ROSC services. So all of that is it's recovery focused on strength based on instead of asking people in whatever stage of recovery they are, addiction, of what's wrong with you or what's your deficiencies, like we normally do for good insurance billing, we actually say, what are your strengths? What's some of your community supports? What are some of the stuff that we can draw together to help you battle this disease of addiction? And ROSC is one of those of where it builds a coalition, it builds a ROSC council, and it identifies your needs, your strengths, and then tries to figure out ways to create the most healthy environment for people to pursue recovery in whatever form that is for them. Because as ROSC says, there are multiple pathways to recovery, just not the cold turkey or my way or faith-based. It really is multiple. What works for you? Yeah, so we've been able to start, gosh, in both counties, one, two, three, four different support groups that didn't exist before, which is huge, 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 because we're all about building community. So four support groups. We have in Piatt County recently received some funding from the Illinois Opioid Settlement Fund. So that allowed us to purchase these weatherproof naloxone or Narcan boxes. And we've put one of those up, Seth, in every single community in Piatt County. I don't know of any other agency that's went that aggressive on harm reduction, but we have enough for every community. We're talking with DeWitt about how we might be able to do that. We have done, I got to promote my Piatt Ross. They're getting ready to do, which sounds awesome as a participant, terrifying as an administrator. They're doing their annual dodgeball tournament. And I just keep saying, have fun, don't get hurt, please don't get hurt, please don't get hurt. So that's great. We've done a lot of homecoming parades. We have over in DeWitt County, we're partnering with Dove to help with a clothing drive. We're getting ready to do a Thanksgiving meal that's over there. And just celebrating people as they meet these milestones for staying sober or being in recovery. I'll tell you, probably the coolest thing about this is trying to create recreational activities for the sober community. Because as you know, a lot of adult activities has the presence of alcohol or something that might not be helpful for somebody that's trying to maintain sobriety. Um, I I would like that every person that is suffering through the medical disease of addiction to be encouraged when they're courageous enough to say, I'm ready for help. And quite frankly, in both of our counties, we got a lot of work. There is a lot of stigma that's attached to substance use and people not understanding the medical model of it. They're In my experience, they have been unfairly judged. They have been pushed into a category, and they have been shamed. And what we know about the addiction cycle is shame is a very, very healthy motivation to stay in addiction. And what we need to do is break that and say, you know, just like any other medical disease, let's go get you to a resource that'll help you work through it. What works for you? Maybe it's not faith-based. And I'm a proponent, I'm a man of faith, but some people might have been hurt by the faith community unfairly. And so that's a hurdle for them. Okay, well, then let's remove that and for now and figure out what works for you. Let's be courageous about telling our stories, because I'm tired of seeing people dying of a preventable disease. Yeah, so whatever phase of recovery you're in, you're welcome. There's a seat for you. So what I would tell your listeners is check us out on Facebook if you want to kind of see what the ROSCs are doing. Take a look at our Facebook page. You'll see some of our recreational activities. So Piatt County ROSC, DeWitt County ROSC, check them out on Facebook. Jump on my webpage, Piatt, MHC /ROSC. We have contact information for both of our coordinators, as well as even if we aren't the person that you want to use for services, there is a whole list of treatment providers in our area that you can reach out to. So again, multiple pathways. It might not be the Piatt County Mental Health Center. And you know what? That's wonderful. As long as you are taking the next step, there's a philosopher that said, 1,000-mile journey starts with a single step. So let us help you take the first one.